All for attending today's award session. It is always wonderful to see so many outstanding people and colleagues in the room here to celebrate one of our most worthy members and people that we all, I think, deserve these wonderful awards. Today we are going to be having both the Zitzewitz Award, the Paul W. Zitzewitz Award, and the Halliday and Resnick Award. And prior to this, though, we just would like to thank our hosts for the wonderful job they've done here, and that will be the responsibility of our present President, Gordon Ramsay. So, Gordon, would you please come up here?
Thank you. I have been a host for our national meeting, and it is a very difficult project, and it takes a lot of work, but it would not happen. These meetings would not happen without local hosts, and so we want to acknowledge the local hosts and then introduce the president of George Washington University, and he will say a few words as well. So I'd like to acknowledge the chair of physics, Bill Briscoe, Leah Kochendorfer, Samantha Lumpkin, another one of our good friends, Gerald Feldman, Mark Reeves, and of course somebody everybody knows at APT, Gary White. So thank you. And now I'd like to present there's a plaque that we have for one of the hosts, and that, of course, is Dr. William Briscoe. So if he's here, would you please come up and, there he is. Let me read the inscription. Thank you to Dr. William Briscoe, Professor and Chair, Department of Physics, the George Washington University, for his outstanding support in organizing the 2018 ABPT Summer Meeting in Washington, D.C. And this is July 30th, 2018. So, Bill.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and the president, Tom LeBlanc, has graciously come over to give us some welcome remarks, and so let me introduce him. He became the 17th president of George Washington University on August 1st, just last year, 2017. Prior to his presidency, Dr. LeBlanc served as executive vice president and provost at the University of Miami from 2005 to 2017. Before that, he served as the Robert L. and Mary L. Sproul Dean of Faculty of Arts and Sciences and Engineering at the University of Rochester between 1996 and 2005. Dr. LeBlanc received his BS degree in computer science from the State University of New York in 1977, MS PhD degrees in computer science from the University of Wisconsin at Madison in 1979 and 1982, respectively. After completing his PhD degree, he joined the faculty of the University of Rochester, New York, as an assistant professor of computer science. In 1987, he received the Office of Naval Research Young Investigator Award for his work in parallel and distributed computer systems. He was appointed chair of the Department of Computer Science in 1990 and served in that capacity until his appointment as dean in 1996. So it's my pleasure to present the president of George Washington University, Dr. Thomas LeBlanc.
Thank you, President Ramsay, for that walk down memory lane. Makes me feel old. Been in higher education my whole life. I've never had this many physicists in attendance at one meeting that I've been at in my life. I think of this as the capstone of my academic career. On behalf of the George Washington University, which for those of you who are not familiar with Washington is a nice brisk 25-minute walk that way, I'm honored to welcome you to our nation's capital for your summer meeting. We're proud to be a part of this conference by hosting activities on our nearby Foggy Bottom campus. at our state-of-the-art Science and Engineering Hall, which opened just a couple of years ago, and our newly renovated Corcoran Hall, which is home to our Department of Physics. Since I became president only a year ago, our university community has articulated a shared aspiration for preeminence as a comprehensive global research university. Physics education and research is a key component of this aspiration. I've been delighted to see that our faculty is so involved not only in the research in STEM areas, but also in the enhancement of the understanding and appreciation of STEM fields through their teaching. Of course, this commitment aligns very well with the mission of AAPT, so we're in really good company. I was also pleased to find that the research and teaching communities at GW are so mutually synergistic. For example, many of our most prolific STEM scholars, including the chair of the department, Bill Briscoe, who's here today, have training grants that involve students in research or grants that study STEM pedagogy and curriculum development. Our physics department is especially active in these efforts. GW is also committed to providing the necessary resources to enhance a STEM educator's professional development. For example, GW Teach is an undergraduate program preparing STEM majors to become the next generation of great teachers. While working toward a bachelor's degree, students participate in classroom field experiences under the mentorship of master teachers. Students who complete the GW Teach program earn their bachelor's degree in their chosen STEM field, a minor in STEM teaching, and licensure as a middle or high school teacher. Scientific results and scientific research are under attack in our society today. The best defense is good science and good science teaching. Your efforts to advance physics understanding and appreciation are critically important to the future of our society and our planet. And I want to thank you for your dedication to this important work and to the field of physics. I offer you my best wishes for a productive and instructive meeting. Good morning.
Thank you. Could we please thank our hosts once more? It's a lot of hard work goes into putting this together. Thank you. Okay. The first award is the Paul W. Zitzewitz Award for Excellence in K-12 Physics Teaching. And this year it is my great honor to award this to Frank Noschese, a physics teacher from John Jay High School, Cross River, which just happens to be 30 miles from where I live. I am pleased to make this award to Frank in recognition of his contributions to pre-college physics teaching and his extraordinary accomplishments in communicating the excitement of physics to his students. Educated at Cornell with a BA in physics and a master's in science and mathematics education, Frank is an inspiration for hundreds of physics teachers across the world. His very popular teaching blog, Action Reaction, is a treasure trove of excellent teaching ideas and lessons that are both useful for novice and experienced teachers alike. And having seen his blog on numerous occasions, I can tell you this is absolutely true. Many of these ideas are taken up by physics teachers around the world, and his blog has become a powerful tool for professional growth for dozens of physics teachers. In addition to many sectional AAPT invited talks and a TED New York Educational Department talk, Frank has been featured on numerous news programs, including MSNBC, discussing the power of actively engaging students in inquiry. Frank is a member of the New York State Master Teacher Program, which fosters collaboration among New York's outstanding STEM educators and offers high-quality professional training and learning. He was given the 2011 Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, and in 2017, he received an AAPT Fellows Award. For these accomplishments and all the other wonderful things he has done to advance physics teaching both in the state of New York and around the country, it is my great pleasure to award the 2018 Paul Zitzewitz Award for Excellence in K-12 Physics Teaching to Frank Noschese.
Chris. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank the AAPT and the awards committee for this tremendous honor, and I especially want to thank all of you. It is your enthusiasm, your expertise, and your dedication that makes coming to these meetings so invigorating and so much fun. So thank you. My talk today is about whether social media can make us better educators. And some people think that social media is about posting selfies and stating what you had for breakfast. And back in 2007, so did I. That was my very first tweet. And I was like, oh, okay, this is Twitter. And then I didn't tweet very much after that. But over the next 11 years, little did I know that's how social media would change the way we engage in our profession as educators. So first, a little brief history. Blogs have been a mainstay for teachers to publicly share their work and to connect with other teachers. Maybe you've come across some of these blogs. Physics blog by Kelly O'Shea, the blog of Phys by, it's a long list here, Dean Baird, Bree Barnett-Dreyfus, Dan Birds, and Mark Zeke Kosover. Jacobs Physics by Greg Jacobs, and Action Reaction, which is mine, although that's been collecting dust for the past couple years. I'm really, really sorry. But the other three are still going strong with tons of resources about model building labs, standards-based grading, AP Physics, and much, much more. Then in March of 2011, Dr. Andy Runquist, I think he is here. Yes, there he is. Woohoo! Superfly. All right. A physics professor at Hamline University started another way for teachers to share and connect, the Global Physics Department. The GPD was an hour-long webinar with different presenters at every meeting. These presentations took place in real time, and the audience members watching at home could ask questions. It was like attending a real-life talk, except everyone was at home, and probably in their pajamas. Jump to 2014. Dr. Lawrence Norris, who tweets under the username Black Physicist, started the first hashtag #ITeachPhysics biweekly Twitter chat. Each hour-long chat has allowed teachers to discuss with each other topics ranging from physics first to quantum mechanics. And if you'd like to know more about the #ITeachPhysics Twitter chat, then be sure to attend Dr. Norris's talk on Wednesday at 1:20, session GN03. But in that time, since that first chat about 4 years ago, I think #ITeachPhysics has become more than just a Twitter chat and a hashtag. I consider #ITeachPhysics to be the community of physics teachers that are connecting with each other online. So let's start with some examples of what physics teachers have been doing online. First off is sharing what we do. Dr. Brian Frank, who I also think is here, right? Yes. Has been very busy tweeting out and blog posting a variety of card sorts that he's developed. These are two great examples from his forces card sort on the left and the circuits card sort on the right. If you don't know what a card sort is, the idea is that the students get a stack of cards with different representations of several scenarios, and they must sort the cards in a variety of different ways. Go get these. You won't be sorry. These are great. This is an oldie but goodie. Dan Burns posted a video on YouTube demonstrating how mass warps space with his large homemade gravity visualizer. I'm sharing this example because have you seen how many views this got? Over 45 million. Dan has had an amazing impact that extends far beyond the walls of his classroom, and it wouldn't be possible without social media. Alom Shah, a physics teacher and author in the UK, posted a video of a simple wave machine made of wooden skewers, gummy candy, and masking tape. This was so cool that many other physics teachers made their own and shared pictures from their classroom. There's one from me, there's one from Albert Fong, who teaches in Canada, and one from Jared Keister, who teaches in Oklahoma. And that's another one, like, you totally have to do that. That's so much fun. The kids build it, and it's great. Here's a modeling data activity that I first learned about in person from Jason Lindley, who's also on Twitter, but not really active. But we met face-to-face, and I found this out from him. Essentially, what is the relationship between the number of knots on a string and the length of the string? And it gets a nice negative linear relationship, which is very odd, very rare, to have a lab do that. So this was a really great find. I tried it out with my students using 3 different lengths of string and shared it on Twitter. Then Mary Whalen saw it, she tried it, and shared back how she did it in her classes. So that's the other great thing. Like, if I heard about it from Jason, and then I went and did it on my own, and Jason didn't really hear back until I was able to share back on Twitter what I did. And then Mary picked it up, she tried it, she posted pictures of it, and we could see, it's just that gratification, that sharing, and you know that's going on. It's back and forth. It's really, really great. Here's a common lab practical that AP Physics teachers do. So if you hold a roll of toilet paper so that it unrolls as it falls, it accelerates slower than a roll that simply falls on its own. The student's job is to figure out how to stagger the 2 rolls so they'll hit the ground at the same time. Teachers like Marta Stuckel and Dan Burns have been sharing videos of their students performing this practical. And students enjoy watching other students in other schools around the country do the same practical and watch them watch them hit at the same time. And the hands go up and everybody yays. And it's another great, exciting one. So one more example. This year I had a student with his right arm in a sling right when we were learning the right-hand rule for determining the magnetic force on a charged particle in a magnetic field. And there he is, taking his quiz with his arm in his sling, trying to do the right-hand rule. So I went on Amazon and I figured maybe they have these pencil erasers that have a hand on them. And sure enough, they did. I had to scroll way, way down. There were some that were mostly like the thumbs up, that wasn't going to work. The pointer finger, that wasn't going to work. There was another one that was there. I'm not going to show you what that one was. That one didn't work either. But this one, with the thumb at the right angle, that one worked really, really well. So I brought it in for him, and this is how you would use it. And I posted this on Twitter because I wanted to share it with a bunch of other teachers. Right? The fingers point in the direction of the magnetic field, right? So that's into the page. And the thumb is the velocity, the direction that the particle is moving, so that's to the right. And then the palm, which is the face, it points in the direction of the magnetic force, which is going to be up. So that rod's going to polarize positive on top, and then if you're doing negative charges, right, you just use the back of the hand, negative on the bottom. Not only was this helpful for my student with his arm in the sling, but it was helpful for everybody in the class. It was just so much easier to orient the pencil topper, you could take it off and hold it any which way, than it would be to orient your real hand. And I know that the students could move the paper around, but they never, ever do that. So I had to go onto Twitter and share this with everybody that I know. And I was excited to see that Monica Owens and Dolores Gende saw my tweet and decided to try their own pencil toppers with their students and tweet back. And Dolores even went a step further and used embroidery hoops and arrows for the magnetic field and induced magnetic field for Lenz's law. So that was really, really cool. Folks also have been sharing work that their students have been doing. If you follow a lot of modelers, there's going to be a lot of whiteboard action on Twitter. And you can see here Darnell Kelly's class is whiteboarding both constant velocity particle model and constant acceleration particle model. And he writes, preparing board presentations, getting kids ready to enjoy collaboration and accurate physics communication. Marna Eccles shares the engineering projects her middle school students made in which they had to design a toy using a physics concept. There's magnetic air hockey, dollhouses with doorbells, motorized boats, and more. I think she teaches middle school, but I'm totally going to use this with my high school kids. Taufik Naji shared students in the process of designing their own film projectors, which is the culminating project for his optics unit. And Mariana Ruggiero, I think she's here. Yes, there she is. She shared out a bunch of her post-AP exam student projects. And she said, the only direction I gave the students was for them to pick a topic, collect some data, and tell us what you learned. The best comment so far from a student, it was like one big goalless problem. And there's one for the physics of Nathan Chen, and there's 2 other ones, and they've just been phenomenal. What the kids, if you just let them go with stuff, you just be amazed at what they can do. And then for like the super dedicated people, there's the Teach 180 challenge, which is sharing a picture every day from your classroom. I did that for a while. I think I started it, but I haven't been doing it much lately. But thankfully, Marta Stuckel has taken up the reins there, and here are 4 photos from her blog just to get you an idea of what a 180 blog is like. In the lower right-hand corner, she's got a lab practical portion of her final exam. On the lower left, there's a vector addition manipulative using pipe cleaners, which I believe she got from Casey Rutherford, right? So again, this collaboration, this cross-pollination is just so amazing. That's going on, like we do it in here at the meetings, but then this goes on after the meeting's over, all school year. It's just phenomenal. And then the top right is a card sort from Kelly O'Shea about kinematics, and then I love the one on the left, on the top left. It's a magnetically levitated globe, and she posed this question to her students: what would happen to the reading on the scale when the globe is removed? Ooh, right? I'm not going to tell you, but I hope you would know. Maybe you don't, right? It's one of those things where, do I really understand the physics behind that? Like, I think it should do this, but maybe. Okay, anyway. And what's better than sharing about what you do, getting feedback about what you shared? So here's Marna Eccles again, and she tried Kelly's card sort, and then they had a follow-up conversation, a little back and forth about what went well, how they might change it and improve it. And then she got a little extra feedback from Enrique Suarez. I don't know if he's here, but he's another great person to follow. At the end of my circuits unit in my AP Physics C class, I gave a lab practicum where students were tasked with designing a circuit that modeled a defibrillator that charged up and then discharged across a 47-ohm patient with the requirement that the current in the patient was around 5 milliamps. I shared some pictures of my students working on the practicum, which is the top left, which led to Brian Carpenter trying it in his class, and he gave me feedback. And then Mama Physics tried it out, and she even wrote additional questions to go with the lab, which I'm going to use with my kids next year. Going beyond sharing, social media has provided support for many teachers. Here's a tweet from Monica Owens that went viral with over 2,000 shares and over 11,000 likes. Why do I use Twitter? I'm the only physics teacher in my small school and often need help figuring things out. Today, this amazing engineer from Harvard stepped in to help out. How awesome is that? And that just went totally viral because a lot of people were like, yay, Twitter is doing something really good. Like, I have faith in humanity again. You know? A little reprieve from the guy around the corner, if you get what I'm saying. So, this is how it started. Monica had tweeted out earlier that she was going to start magnetism in class, and she wanted some help getting some demonstrations in working order. And then John Ferrier, that Harvard engineer, chimed in, hey, need some help? Where are you located? And then they continued to have a back and forth, and he helped her troubleshoot a demo for the current around the magnetic field around a current carrying wire. Some of you might participate in professional learning communities or PLCs at your school, but a bunch of teachers that met on Twitter formed their own virtual PLC and met weekly using Google Hangouts. Pictured here, the big pictures, we've got Marta Stuckel, Michael Lerner, Kara Luce, and Scott Hoven. I think 3 of them are here. One of the participants in the virtual PLC told me, the virtual PLC has been so huge. It's been a support group for several years now. Every time I have a tough student to figure out, or a problem with a new unit, or I just want to run an idea by someone, I have that regular group to check in with and give me feedback. Plus, my students think it's amazing that I get to help figuring out how to help them from other teachers across the country. And another teacher I spoke with said, I probably would have walked out of the classroom 3 years ago had it not been for my Twitter PLN. I was struggling with a not-so-understanding new principle. A combination of Twitter and real-life friends helped me reimagine my life, get rid of ridiculous expectations, and embrace the messiness of life. It's a struggle at times, and I always know now that having support, even if it's just a quick tweet or reading someone's blog or finding a cool new way to try things in class. And there's one other thing that I just want to say, like everybody's sharing all these really cool things, and you don't see all the things that fail. So I think maybe next year I'm going to start a fail 180 blog where I post something that fails every day. So that way you don't feel so bad, right? Because I'm doing the iteration over and over and over again, and you don't see that, right? So I'm just like everybody else, please. I make the same mistakes. My kids are like, oh, this is so boring, you know? So trust me, it's not like rainbows and unicorns all the time in my classroom. The other great thing is you get to follow experts in the field that you wouldn't be able to without social media. You get to tune right into their deepest thoughts and the cool things that they're working on. So these are 6 of people that I really enjoy following. Dr. Chanda Prescott-Weinstein is an American cosmologist, science writer, and equity activist. She also maintains a decolonizing science reading list. Dr. Chad Orzel is a physics professor and author of several books, including the popular How to Teach Quantum Mechanics to Your Dog. I can barely get my dog to sit, so I really want to know how to do that. Dr. Catherine Mack is an astrophysicist and a science communicator making frequent appearances on radio and TV. Dr. Clifford Johnson is a professor of physics and a science consultant for movies and TV shows. He's also the recipient of the 2018 Klopsteg Memorial Lecturer Award, so be sure to catch his plenary on Wednesday at 8:30. Dr. Dejaya Eisler is an astrophysicist who researches blazars and is the creator of Vanguard STEM, an online network supporting women of color, girls of color, and non-binary people of color in STEM. And Dr. Red Elaine, you guys probably know him, a physics professor who often blogs about his physics analysis of TV and movie scenes and also contributes a lot to computational modeling with VPython. I think social media is also has been helping teachers to combat bias, or at least recognize their own bias. There was a hashtag, I am a physicist, where physicists shared pictures of themselves to showcase the diversity of physics across the globe. July 5th, this past July 5th was the very first International LGBT STEM Day, a day of recognition to help raise awareness and increase support for LGBTQ+ people in STEM. And piggybacking with that, there is a website, 500 Queer Scientists, which seeks to ensure the next STEM generation has LGBTQ+ role models, help the next generation recognize they're not alone, and create opportunities for community connections and greater visibility within STEM. The fact that most Americans cannot name a living scientist gave rise to this hashtag, actual living scientist. And actual living scientists shared pictures of them in the field doing work. And again, a very diverse group of people. And then a few teachers even went ahead and print out and cut the tweets and made bulletin boards and classroom displays for them to inspire the next generation. Liz Mostello, a math teacher, shared this bulletin board, mathematicians can be immigrants, athletes, amateurs, and so on. That inspired Marta Stuckel, again, and her colleague Karen Hayers to create a scientist can be display for her classroom. Physics teacher Heather Waterman does a daily date doodle on a section of her whiteboard in her classroom featuring white women and people of color and their sometimes untold contributions to STEM. And she's got a 180 blog too, and she posts every week she posts the 5 that she had that week, and they're pretty amazing. And she has a post about the books and resources that she used to generate the list of scientists that she features. Sometimes the bias is right under our noses. Physics teacher Mariana Ruggiero recently pointed out some glaring examples from an online physics textbook. She found most of the women in the textbook were drawn in sexist ways or placed in sexist roles. And physics teacher Danny Duchette was fixing physics problems to be gender neutral, in this case replacing the word spaceman with astronaut, which then led to another interesting conversation about, do you go gender neutral? Do you go like no gender at all and just replace all the spaceman with you, like you are an astronaut? But then everybody thinks about you, right? It's centered on you, but you want to have diversity. So it was a really interesting, it's a really interesting conundrum, you know? Is there really one right way? And Kelly O'Shea really hits the nail on the head here. I'm so done with inspiring white girls and students of color to like physics. Have you talked to these kids? They're pretty into physics. Let's instead work on making physics a place that's into them doing physics, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Right? I have my classes, 50% girls, 50% boys, right? What happens later? And it's not necessarily about getting the girls excited, because they are already excited. Many white women and people of color in STEM have shared on social media the struggles that they faced because of their gender and or race. Dr. Jess Wade put some of them into this cartoon about women in physics. I don't know if you can read, so I'm going to read some of the more glaring examples from the game board. The first one is, cornered by a dodgy old academic, miss a turn. Get involved in diversity work. Stay where you are. Right? Why do we always put the burden on diversity work for the people the ones that are being oppressed? Get allocated disproportionate amount of teaching and administrative roles. Back 2 spaces. Take maternity leave. Back 3 spaces. Be the only woman on a panel. I bet you know those 2 people. Everybody's favorite substitute teachers. I mean YouTubers. Everybody's favorite YouTubers. On the left is Diana Cowan, a.k.a. Physics Girl, and on the right is Derek Muller, a.k.a. Veritasium. But guess what? Women making science videos on YouTube face hostile comments. After studying 23,005 comments left on videos about science and related topics, a researcher says, I could see why white people would not want to be on YouTube. And while it's great that Diana is still making videos despite the trolls, she shouldn't have to deal with them in the first place. And these are other 2 tweets from the two physicists that I had mentioned before. The first one, I was told I didn't have the grades to be a theoretical physicist. I now hold a PhD in theoretical physics, and in January, I will be a professor of theoretical physics, the first black woman professor of theoretical cosmology. She's going to be at the University of New Hampshire. And Catherine Mack, during a difficult physics class in undergrad, a professor told me at office hours, look, some people just aren't cut out for this. A few years later, I ran into him while doing my PhD at Princeton. We didn't talk. Back in 2015, physics teacher Moses Rifkin shared a 6-day curriculum he developed about teaching social justice in the physics classroom. In it, students explore the question, why are there so few black physicists? And some people were not happy about that. The articles written about Moses' curriculum were featured in Breitbart and the National Review, and Fox News even did a segment on it. Nevertheless, Moses continues his work. He started a group on Slack. Sorry, I just lost my place. He started a group on Slack where teachers were getting together to write a curriculum for underrepresented people in physics. So sorry, right? The technology guy is now having trouble with his phone. I get it. Yes, he started a group on Slack, which is a collaborative workspace, creating a curriculum to address underrepresentation in culture and physics. You can learn more about Moses and his cohort, and they are working, You can learn more about the work Moses and his cohort are working on at their talk on Tuesday afternoon at 2:30, session EH07, or on his poster session on Wednesday morning at 10:15. Book chats are another great way for teachers to connect over Twitter, and the American Modeling Teachers Association is hosting one around the book Whistling Vivaldi, How Stereotypes Affect Us and What We Can Do. While the chat for the first 4 chapters in the book have already happened, the chat for the remaining chapters in the book will be this Thursday at 7 Eastern. And by confronting our own biases, I think we can make our classrooms safer and more inclusive for our students. So wrapping up. If you'd like to hear more about this Twitter thing, I suggest taking a look at Eric Martel's poster that he presented at AEPT's summer meeting back in 2014, called Twitter as a Professional Development Tool for Physicists. Andrew Morrison also maintains a list of physics educators that are on Twitter. So far, he's got 976. That's a lot, a little overwhelming, but it's a place to start. Follow the hashtag for this conference. Plenty of folks are sharing what's going on at other sessions, and it's a great way to get ideas from sessions that you can't attend. And take this advice from Will Slanton. Learn about and engage with regular Twitter chats like I Teach Physics. That's basically what I'm doing now, right? I'm teaching Twitter. Sorry. Learn about and engage with regular Twitter chats like I Teach Physics that are discipline-specific. Follow engaging and thoughtful, provoking educators that you find. Listen to folks different from you. Follow working scientists and engineers. And I'd like to end with this tweet from Moses. This is by one of the biggest benefits of Twitter for me. By following people of different experiences, I get that, oh, how did I not see that moment regularly? And I wish it were otherwise, but I'm glad it's helping me get better. Thank you, everybody.
Don't we have time for questions? No, we don't. I'm sorry, we don't have time for questions for Frank right now. I'm sure you have lots, but
Your questions.
but I'm sure Frank will hang around a little bit